You know, recently, I think a few months ago, even the Goldman Sachs CEO Lloyd Blankfein was in your state, wrote you a letter and said you've got talented employees, you've got skilled workers there, and that's why we are expanding in Utah. But what is the key, do you think, as to why a firm like Goldman would want to be in your state and expand?
Well, as Lloyd told me, he said Utah is the most business-friendly state in America. And I think a lot of CEOs and business leaders are finding that to be true. Forbes magazine, Steve Forbes said we're the best state in America for business right now.
Because of low taxes? Low taxes and tax breaks?
I think it's a number of things. It's not only competitive tax rates, but we've done a complete overhaul of our business regulations. We just got through eliminating 368 or modification of 368 business regulations which were having no public purpose. They were just a drag on the economy. And so we've created a very business-friendly environment, competitive tax rates, sensible regulations, and we have a great labor force that's high-tech savvy, young. Our median age is 29.2 years of age. We're bilingual. We're very productive people, and it's just a great place to do business. So
then who else is coming along on the Goldman Trail then?
Well, there's a lot of different companies. Adobe just has moved and expanding, building a $120 million campus just south of Salt Lake City. Procter & Gamble just built a new manufacturing plant in Utah, which is their first manufacturing plant in North America in about 40 years. Hershey, Disney Interactive, Twitter, Oracle, eBay, Microsoft, IM Flash, the list goes on, and people are discovering that Utah is a great place for business.
Now, there's one interesting statistic, though, that I read in one of these articles about Goldman and its move there, and I thought it was interesting. The average pay for a Goldman employee in your state is about $80,000 a year. The average pay for a Goldman employee just across the operation, if you just average out, you know, their 30,000 some employees, is $432,000 a year. So clearly, the lower wages or paying workers less may be also a reason why companies are going into your state.
Well, I think we are competitive from the standpoint of salaries, but our personal income has just grown by about 5% per year, about the fifth fastest in America. Our standard of living is high quality of life, but at lower cost. You can appreciate the additional cost to live in New York compared to living in Salt Lake City or San Francisco or LA to living in Utah. You can buy a lot more with a lot less in Utah, and so it's a win-win situation.
Right, and certainly when you compare cost of living, that puts all the salaries into perspective too. Governor, something else I want to talk to you about with your jobless rate, though. It is at 6%, which is well below the national average. But there's also another stat within that, which is labor participation has gone down about 6% since the recession. And some say it's because the younger workers are dropping out of the workforce. They're having a harder time finding jobs in Utah, which is really pretty much a problem that is endemic around the country.
Well, when I came into office, we had about an 8.3% unemployment rate. It dropped down to 5.7% over the last 2.5 to 3 years. But we now have ticked up to 6%, which is because more people are now engaging. There's more optimism. They feel good about the future. There's opportunity out there. So we're now getting more engagement back into the workforce. Plus, our unemployment time that you're out of work is only about 3.5 months, 14.4 weeks exactly. So the time that you're unemployed till we get you back to employment is the 49th lowest in the nation. So we're getting people back to work, and more people are engaging. So again, I think there's a lot of optimism out there and a great opportunity. Part of the reason we see that too is also we're a fast-growing state. A lot of people are moving to Utah for the quality of life and for the economic opportunity.
Governor, just quickly, out of Washington, what's the biggest concern you have coming out of Washington that it could affect your budget and your state?
Well, clearly the unbridled spending is a concern for everybody. It should be. $15.3 trillion deficit debt is just not sustainable. But the unfunded mandates and the mandates on Medicaid, which is really a universal bipartisan irritant for the governors across the country, is just not sustainable. If in fact the Affordable Care Act stands and does not overturn in the Supreme Court, the cost to Utah alone for Medicaid will be an additional $1.3 billion over the next 10 years. It's just it's a budget buster for every state.